story that I want to talk about today is Easter Eve by Anton Chekhov. I am familiar with Anton, but I'm not familiar with his works. I recently got this book right here. So, this is the 50 greatest short stories by Anton Chekhov. So, I think it's only like $10 on eBay. And, Um, I think the translation could be better, but it's just $10 for 50 stories. I think it's a good deal. And so, um, Anton was not on my list of authors that I was going to look into, but after this story, the Easter Eve story, I'll definitely be looking into more of his works. This story is really special to me. Now I've read it twice. I think it's only 11 pages. It kind of reminds me of those protagonist in Dostoevsky stories like Prince Mishkin, and I guess even some characters in the Brothers Karamazov. It's even though they might not be the protagonist, but it's uh, really a really nice story, and I'll get into it right now. Why it's kind of special to me, and why after reading this story I'll be looking more into Anton Chekhov's works. Now, before I begin, I think it is my responsibility to tell you that you might be better off if you read the story before watching this video, or you don't have to if you're just here to listen to it, I guess. And without further ado, I'll just get into it. So, this story is basically about our narrator who is nameless and we don't know much about him except that he seems like a good person. And he is going to a church or a monastery, I guess. And to get to the monastery, he needs to cross a river, and it's Easter. So he gets to the river and he's waiting for the ferry. The ferry is driven by a monk. The monk is not here yet, but I'll skip on some of the details and I'll also skip on some of the themes, I guess. I'll not be talking about any particular themes that the story has because basically I'll just be talking about the story and how I feel about it. So the monk is finally here and he starts talking about his friend Nikolai. So we don't really know who Nikolai is right now, and the story also at this point seems a little mysterious because you can't really tell what the story is actually about. So the monk goes into a conversation and turns out his friend Nikolai is dead. So he died on the day of Easter, and our our guy who's telling the story, our narrator, he is basically kind of trying to avoid the conversation with the monk because he's afraid that the conversation might stir into some type of religion talk, which he's trying to avoid. But it doesn't go that way. So the monk is actually really sad that his friend is dead, and he starts talking about his friend, this Nikolai, and he basically tells him that Nikolai was such a nice guy, good person that many a mother is not nice to her child as he was to the monk who was driving the ferry. So Nikolai also used to write, I guess, poems, and it was really nice. He had a natural talent for those, so much that people in the monastery were kind of jealous of him. They would not give any attention to his works and they would just sort of ignore him. But nevertheless, he actually wrote those anyway. And his friend, who is our monk driving the ferry, really enjoyed listening to him. So basically, I think the monk was the only guy who actually enjoyed listening to his work, and he was the one who appreciated his work as well. Um, and then our narrator gets to the other side. He is finally able to go into the monastery, and leave the monk be. Before leaving, actually, the monk does tell him that he would actually like to be at the monastery as well, or the church, because there's a festival going on, right? It's Easter, and he tells our guy that they were supposed to free him at like 8, but no one is here, and he's kind of sad because his friend Nikolai is dead. He tells him that if Nikolai was alive, he used to come around and just make sure that the monk was okay, he was doing good. Um, and why would he do that? I guess he was just a kind person, a kind soul, good soul. So anyway, our guy goes into the monastery. He walks around, and it's really nice. Lots of things are going on. People are just being people. Um, and it's a big festival. So he walks around, basically spends a lot of time in there, and he finally decides to go back. Actually, before I get to that, I should mention that he was trying to look into, I guess, the grave of Nikolai, but for some reason, because he was kind of, I guess attracted to Nikolai after all that monk talk, and he just wanted to see how Nikolai looked like, how he was like, because he had an image in his mind about Nikolai, a sort of beautiful image about a really kind soul. But for some reason, he decided that he would not do it, and he decides to go back. And at this point, there is some light in the sky. It's almost early morning, um, closer to after, not afternoon, closer to like you know, I guess 9 a.m. or something. But it's kind of early, and he goes back, and the ferry comes in. About a lot of people get in the ferry, and guess who's driving the ferry? Yep, you guessed it right. It's our monk. He's still driving it for many, many hours. And our narrator looks at him and he's like, "Oh, you're still here?" He's like, "Yeah." He said that they're going, by they I mean the other monks are going to the church now to break a fast or something. And they will not be here anytime soon, so he still has to drive. So he has a really sad look on his face, but he's not complaining. And he just looks dejected, I guess. And that's how our world is. We don't care. We don't really care about other people. It's just about us and our interest. But anyway, they take off, and our monk is driving the ferry. I should also mention that he is pulling on a rope. He's pulling on a rope, and that's how the ferry moves. It. I don't know if you. I actually looked into it a little bit, and it takes immense strength to move the ferry that way, and he's been doing this for hours, and he would rather be in the church or the monastery with the other guys, but obviously he's not allowed to. No one is here to do the job for him. And anyway, so this is closer to the end of the story. So he's looking at everybody's face, and he's really sad, he's really dejected, and his gaze stops at a merchant's wife. Now apparently, I think my translation might be a little iffy, but I think what the author meant is this merchant's wife is kind of beautiful. She looks not kind of nice, but she's kind of like shivering because of the mist or something like that. And his gaze stops at her. He just looking at her, and her narrator looks at him, just watching the merchant's wife. But he says that there's very little masculine in his gaze. He's looking for his friend Nikolai in that face, which sort of was kind of made me emotional, to be honest. I also imagine Nikolai as a person with soft features, um, someone like Prince Mishkin. I don't know why Prince Mishkin came to me, but I love Prince Mishkin too. I guess characters like Nikolai or Prince Mishkin just don't win in society. They don't climb ranks or make headlines. They reflect something older, something sacred even. Um, my mind just goes back to Jesus, I think. Jesus, like spirit of humility, suffering, and truth, that our society or our world has no place for anymore. But yeah, that's the story. And I'll be looking more into Anton Chekhov's works. And if you guys have any other thoughts on this, feel free to write down in the comments. Alright. Um, just so you guys know, if you guys have any suggestions or anything that you would like to share with me, things that I can improve upon, please do write in the comments. I don't use a script. I just share whatever comes to my mind, whatever I feel is good, is worth sharing. And currently, I'll be reading more books. I guess I'm looking into. Yeah, I think this book right the next is the next one. It's some people call it Demons or Devils by Dostoevsky, but anyway. Also, I'm working on a startup, a publishing company, a digital publishing company for readers and writers. Um, I think publishing is tough. I'm just trying to make it easy for everybody, and we're just sort of going away from reading. I'm trying to do my part and hopefully share with others how wonderful reading is. And the social media links for that will be in the description. I'm still working on it, but it will be on the internet one day. And if you liked anything about this video, you can like and subscribe, or maybe don't. Here's another book that I'll be reading. This is the complete works of William Shakespeare. Oof, shiny. But I'll be reading both of these books next. And right now I'm reading the New Testament actually. So I'm not really religious, but I'm just trying to read whatever I can get my hands on. Alright. Yep, that's it.